But when we're put together, we become this beautiful picture of God's temple. And not in a sense of, so there was this temple, so now you come to this new temple and we meet together. No, no, no. It's not about a location anymore. It's about a people. A people that build up and become that new temple. I actually became the pastor here only 5 weeks before Sandy hit.
The building, yeah, you know, it had 4 feet of water in it. The first day I walked in, you know, it just seemed, it was this daunting, overwhelming thing that we were faced with. Your first thought is, I don't know that they're ever gonna be able to have church again in this building.
To me, it looked like this is going to be the end of the South Nassau Christian Church.
Before the storm, it was this old wood-paneled church. It was kind of an ugly, dilapidated building.
They were existing here, but there hadn't been a lot of updates to the church. There hadn't seemed to be a lot of involvement in the community.
Too often I feel like we as a church, we can very easily become like this outsider of the community. The water actually had come 4 feet into the whole church and just drenched the walls and drenched everything and basically just left it a mess.
It was probably the week, maybe 10 days after Paul and I took a trip down here to see what was going on. And, you know, at that point I pledged to Scott that, you know, we would, as a congregation and me as, you know, as his pastor, I would throw my support 100% behind him, and we would do whatever we needed to do to help this congregation get back on its feet.
I like to joke that I was kind of delusional in the beginning. So I got out a shop vac and a generator and we started vacuuming out the carpets.
He thought he was going to fix the building with his shop vac, I guess.
I feel like I kind of got out of that a little bit, well, a lot, because one of my close friends gave me a call from Connecticut, Josh Russo, and he said, "You want me there? I'll be there tomorrow." And he showed up and started gutting the walls and cutting the carpet. Kind of broke me out of that.
Whenever I could, I'd bring people with me, whether it be adults or teenagers from the church I was working at in Nesconset, and we would come out and whatever Scott needed, we would help with. And one of the cool things is that he didn't primarily focus on the building right away. He realized the community surrounding us had, everyone around us had been hit and needed help.
If we're just going to have a pretty beautiful building like we have now, but the community is in shambles, then we've done everything backwards and wrong.
That was the greatest decision they could have made because of the fact that it solidified the people's view of the church in the community, that they weren't about themselves, they were about the community.
Big thing for me was that we weren't just talking about what we believe, but we actually lived it out and we actually did what we believe.
A lot of people, you know, I think when they think of church, a lot of things run through their minds, and they may think different things like judgmental, critical, hypocritical, or all they want is my money. But here was a church that was faced with the same problem that everyone else was, but they were putting others first.
We want to live consistently with what we believe, that there's a God who's shown us immeasurable grace, and all we want to do is extend that to other people.
You can see really how close the water is. And it's surrounded by houses that are just as flooded. See the couches back there? It's just terrible. Please pray for South Nassau Christian Church.
Like Nesconset, we've had that relationship. So they came out, they were local. But churches from Kentucky and Indiana and Ohio and South Carolina and Virginia, they just called me up out of the blue. I don't know how they even found my phone number. And they were like, "Scott, I want to come up there to help." I'm like, I called nobody.
This situation presented that opportunity for people to come in and say, "You know what? I'm not just going there to rebuild a church building. I'm going there to rebuild a community."
I get a call completely out of the blue voicemail actually, and I checked my voicemail because I couldn't ever answer my phone. So I checked my voicemail, and the guy's like, "Hey Scott, I'm such and such. I can't even tell you his name. I have it somewhere. And I'm part of this church in California, and I wanted to let you know that we're praying for you guys, and we know what you guys are up to. I don't know how they found out, but we want you to pray for us that this coming Sunday, all of our tithe and offering, all of our collection is going to go to your church."
I don't know. To be honest, I've wondered that too. how different churches found out, and I think some people, honestly, they heard about the hurricane, and I think they Googled and said, "We got to find a church and help them." and that I think some people probably found us that way.
That was I think a miracle in and of itself, because of the amount of response and the amount of people that were willing to help and the dollars that were sent. I don't think that could have been done just by human effort. I think that was absolutely a divine thing that happened.
It'd be a weird thing to say that God sent this hurricane to destroy this building so that all these awesome things that we're seeing now could happen. I don't think that was the case. I believe God obviously wanted a church here. So all those years ago, people realized that they planted this church here, and then I think God. I don't think He sent the hurricane, but He worked through the hurricane.
But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of Him who called you out of darkness into His wonderful light. Our church's mission is this: it's one more life, touched, transformed, and sent by the grace of God.
The congregation understands now that they have to continue to be about the community and not about themselves, because that choice 2 years ago is a big reason why they're healthy today.
That we're going to be about one life. We're going to be about one life being touched and transformed and being sent by God's grace.
As Scott's pastor for the last 17 years, I'm just so proud of him.
I don't know if you're familiar with the story of Gideon in the Old Testament, but I see my life, and even this whole thing with Sandy and everything, has been a lot like Gideon. Where an angel shows up to Gideon. Gideon's at the bottom of this well, and he's at the bottom of the well because he's afraid that the neighboring countries are going to find out that he's treading out the grain. So he's doing it and throwing it up, and he's a coward at the bottom of this well. And this angel walks up to him, and the first thing that comes out of the angel's mouth is, "Mighty warrior."